Hi, today we will explain the storyline of the movie Twin Lies, which was released in 2024.
Hallway lined with framed artwork.
Okay, let's get straight to the story.
You've been having an affair.
A young woman named Nina has just opened a coffee shop where she works. A few hours later, Nina's day's work was done. She ate a piece of leftover bread and got the news that her twin, Victoria, was getting engaged. The next day, Nina came to the event and met her parents. Nina claimed that Victoria's fiancé had invited her, while Victoria herself had not communicated with her for a long time. Her parents seemed proud of Victoria and her partner, Ryan. Shortly afterwards, Victoria appeared. Her appearance was very charming, unlike Nina, who was rather tomboyish.
The sun sets over a sea.
At the event, Nina did not talk to Victoria. However, she chatted with their cousin Penelope. When night fell, Nina decided to go home. Before leaving, her father said that he had been called by debt collectors about her overdue tuition fees. Quickly, Nina promised that it would not happen again. Next, Nina spent the night drinking at the bar alone. When she went to pay the bill, the bartender said a man had paid it. The man in question was John, who thought Nina was Victoria. Not far away, Victoria appeared and saw her.
Never.
She pulled Nina into the toilet for a private conversation. From this incident, Nina suspected that Victoria had secretly cheated on her man, but Victoria dodged the question by saying that the man was just a customer.
Which has an infinity symbol tattoo.
Nina was surprised when Victoria revealed that she had been working as a call girl accompanying wealthy men. No one knew her real profession, including Ryan. Other people only knew that Victoria was a successful consultant. Victoria also asked Nina to keep it a secret and let her keep John's gift necklace.
Twin lies. Two women run down a hotel.
The next day, Nina was walking home at night. Suddenly, Victoria came up from behind, claiming she needed to talk to Nina and asking for her help.
Bridge as the sun sets. At night.
They then went to Nina's apartment. Victoria said she had said goodbye to all her clients, but she still had one VIP client scheduled. On the other hand, Ryan had already planned a vacation with her. Therefore, she asked Nina to take her place for a day. She could take the payment and tips that the man gave her. Victoria said that the large amount of payment would allow Nina to pay off her college debt. The point was, Nina only needed to accompany the man without having to sleep with him. Furthermore, Victoria allowed Nina to choose her clothes and jewelry.
Open snack bags litter the apartment.
After that, she explained the profile of David Linx, her VIP customer. David was a single CEO who liked to do charity work and had connections with important famous people. In addition, Victoria also gave Nina a special cell phone to work with that night. A little while later, Nina arrived at the luxury hotel to wait for David in the lobby.
Nina runs her manicured.
David's bodyguard came to pick her up, then asked for Nina's cell phone and checked it to ensure security. After that, Nina's eyes were closed and she was taken to a room. David appeared carrying 2 glasses of drink.
Fingers down a gold sequined gown hanging in.
He also invited Nina to talk and realized that Nina's attitude, or what he thought was Victoria's, was different from the first time they met. David was annoyed because the wine he was pouring spilled on his shirt. He left Nina for a moment to take care of his clothes. Meanwhile, Nina poured wine into each glass and set up the backgammon board they were going to play. Long story short, they played backgammon all night until Nina got sleepy and fell asleep. Meanwhile, outside the room, David's bodyguard was approached by a man who asked him where the emergency stairs were because the elevator was broken. David's bodyguard said the man was not allowed in the area. Suddenly, another man appeared behind him and electrocuted David's bodyguard.
Holdings below becomes evident.
The first man, who was known as Peterson, peeked through the peephole in the door. He saw that there was a new woman in the room that they needed to keep an eye on. The next morning, Nina woke up and David was gone. She was surprised to see David's other bodyguard in the room.
Lamp glows atop a nightstand beside it.
The bodyguard asked Nina to check under the pillow and found a small bag containing a large amount of money. Nina looked very happy to get it. Shortly afterwards, she returned to her apartment. 2 men claiming to be from the FBI approached her. They were Peterson and Bruno, who had been lurking outside David's room the night before and intended to ask Nina for information. Here, Nina claimed to be Victoria and asked what information they needed. Peterson said that David was most likely involved in criminal activities. Now they needed an informant who would collect intelligence data about the companies David was approaching to buy Linxol. They both thought that Nina was the right candidate, considering that she was the only call girl who stayed overnight, while the other women left after 15 to 30 minutes. They said goodbye and promised to contact her again. As Bruno said, as soon as they left, David sent a message and wanted Nina to accompany him for a week.
Line dotted with massive skyscrapers.
Not long after, Victoria stopped by. Without further ado, she asked how last night had been. A panicked Nina told her that 2 policemen had just come looking for her. Now Victoria was panicking too because all the luxury goods she owned were stolen goods.
Across a bridge. A Volkswagen.
She intended to take over Nina's next meeting with David. However, Victoria, whom David met last night, is good at playing backgammon, while the real Victoria cannot play backgammon at all. Feeling cornered, Victoria finally allowed Nina to continue her role. However, she had to learn a few things about how Victoria worked. First, she was taught that Victoria had a special access card that would get her out of the hotel staff emergency exit. If at any time an unexpected situation arises, Nina must use that card.
The sun sets over a sea.
Second, Victoria taught her self-defense. In addition, Victoria would also give her hints through her ears when David needed input on certain topics beyond Nina's knowledge. The next day, Peterson went to Nina at the shop. Nina told him that David wanted to meet again, but didn't say when. Peterson then asked her to prepare to gather all the information from David. Not long after, David sent a message and told her to get ready for tonight.
From above, the grid-like design of
Elsewhere, David abused one of his personal bodyguards who disappeared when he was with Victoria or Nina. The bodyguard met his fate in the end. On the other hand, Victoria helped Nina prepare and made sure her hearing aids were working properly. An hour later, Nina arrived at the hotel and was picked up by David's second bodyguard in the lobby. David was waiting in the room and invited Nina in. It turned out that he had prepared a number of luxurious dresses for Nina and told her to choose one.
wispy clouds linger in the sky.
Nina chose a red dress that she thought David would like. Nina changed her clothes in front of David, who then invited her out to dinner at a fancy restaurant.
The city lights glow bright.
As Victoria expected, David asked her to choose a drink. However, Nina changed the subject by asking where David's other bodyguard was. David just said he wasn't a good fit to work with him. After that, Nina changed the subject again, this time asking for input regarding investments she should buy. After answering according to his knowledge, David asked what Victoria's dream was. Nina replied that she wanted to have her own lemon drink stand. Nina then asked a similar question, where David told a short story of how he managed to get the capital to build his company, Linx, which came from his regular drug dealer. Shortly thereafter, David invited her to go somewhere else. They arrived at a large garage that was planned to be one of David's company branch offices. He claimed to have just bought the place.
Against the starless night sky.
They then walked to a photography area, where David admitted that he was once an amateur photographer and wanted to take pictures of Nina. Long story short, Nina sat down and posed for him. David mentioned the tattoo on Nina's wrist,
Which has an infinity symbol tattoo.
and Nina said that she got it after dropping out of law school. Here, Nina tried to flirt with David. However, David stuck to his guns. He also invited Nina to print photos in a dark room.
Maybe one of our offices.
Here, David received a message that the son of a former financial executive at his company was trying to attack him on social media. Therefore, he has blacklisted the child from the university that accepted him. Furthermore, David claimed that the child's father was his former business partner at Linx. This person then took David's idea of starting his own company. He hates being lied to, after which he left Nina in the room. Nina panicked because the door wouldn't open, but then David's bodyguard came and took her home.
A host stands at
The next day, Victoria met Nina at the shop. Hearing Nina's story last night, she became even more convinced that David was dangerous. On the other hand, Nina thought that David could be trusted. She said she would meet David again tomorrow and promised to come to Victoria's bridal shower party. Victoria only asked her to keep her updated about David. After that, Nina went to see her close friend Curtis, who was celebrating his birthday.
Behind the counter, he serves cups of
Nina met David at a bar the next day. First of all, David apologized for leaving Nina like that yesterday. David also said he was going to have a business meeting with a staff member and asked Nina to accompany him. Unexpectedly, the staff member in question turned out to be Curtis. Curtis gasped to see Nina with him. David then introduced Nina as Victoria and let her speak. With a heavy heart, Curtis tried to continue the meeting until David decided to promote him. He was impressed with Curtis's hard work. After the meeting, Nina rushed to Victoria's bridal shower, but the event was over.
across a bridge.
Penelope showed up and said that a body had been found by the river. When Nina finished washing the dishes, she showed an article on the internet about the body. Nina saw the photo and immediately recognized that it was the bodyguard she had met on her first night with David. That night, Nina met with Peterson and Bruno and reported everything David had told her. In addition, Nina mentioned the body of the bodyguard found in the river this morning. She was worried that her fate would be the same and wanted to know what the FBI's plan was to protect her. Unfortunately, Bruno said they had no right to discuss that now. However, they promised to do their best to protect Nina. Next, she was asked to prepare to record David's speech at the Linx Gala on Friday. They believed David would announce an important corporate restructuring. After that, they would relieve Nina of her duties. She had to keep making sure she didn't get into trouble with David. After that, Nina went to Curtis's apartment. She tried to explain her relationship with David, whom Curtis thought was her boyfriend. Curtis admitted that he felt very disappointed because Nina said she didn't want to make a commitment to anyone. Here, Nina emphasized that David was not her boyfriend and Nina only worked for him as a call girl and swore never to sleep with David. She admitted that she liked Curtis and was willing to be his lover. However, they had to keep this relationship a secret from David so that their respective business relationships would be maintained. At dinner with her family, Nina admitted that she now works as a consultant like Victoria. She also admitted that she already had a boyfriend, a Linx employee. Victoria then took her aside and scolded Nina. She thought the boyfriend in question was David. However, Nina corrected her and said that her boyfriend's name was Curtis, who happened to work at Linx. Victoria felt that Nina's new relationship would mess everything up, but Nina insisted that she could handle it. Sometime later, Nina met David again at the hotel. Curtis was also there because David had asked him to work overtime to prepare for the gala using David's laptop. Curtis tried to calm down and asked permission to finish his task at home. David also invited him to talk one-on-one in another room. Nina took advantage of this to download all important data on David's laptop to her flash disk.
The photo is of the guard she saw.
Shortly afterwards, David appeared. He gave Nina a necklace as a gift and told her to wear it to the party tomorrow. The next morning, Nina handed over the data she had downloaded on the flash drive last night.
With Nina.
Okay, so explain.
However, her job was not quite finished. Nina still had to make sure David stayed at the hotel where the party was being held tonight. She protested because she felt her job was done and didn't know how to keep David at the hotel overnight. Peterson then handed her the handcuffs and asked Nina to come up with her own ideas.
In between tall skyscrapers.
Back at the apartment, Victoria was waiting and worried because Nina hadn't contacted her. They argued and Victoria left Nina's apartment in a huff. She then contacted someone and asked for help. Victoria called John. They met at a bar.
Yes. Nina.
John was one of David's business competitors. Victoria asked John if he was still on good terms with his legal connections and tried to dig up David's case. However, John said David was not related to any case. In fact, the police were targeting a drug lord named Peterson, who had invested in Linx's company. John himself had collected data that could put David in jail. He gave the file to Victoria. Elsewhere, Victoria was getting ready to go to a party. She decided to switch roles with Nina. Shortly thereafter, she arrived at David's hotel, who was very upset because someone had betrayed him. Victoria tried to distract David by showing him the sexy outfit she was wearing. However, he was unfazed because he was stressed thinking about his speech. Nina then took out her handcuffs, but David handcuffed her instead and told her to wait until the event was over. Suddenly, Peterson and Bruno arrived. Here, Peterson revealed the truth.
Steam rises up from the sewer.
Peterson also urged David to convey the contents of the speech that he was going to change and to collect on his promise first. They had agreed that if Linx was successful, Peterson would be entitled to half of his net profits. He wouldn't let David sell Linx before getting his money. Peterson also threatened to kill Victoria, but David resisted. Meanwhile, Nina managed to free herself from her handcuffs and shot Bruno. In the lobby, the guests had already arrived. Nina passed Curtis off,
Identified as Linx Inc.
but Curtis felt ignored and reprimanded her. Nina didn't have time to explain, but she asked Curtis to help her. Meanwhile, David expressed his disappointment to Victoria for betraying him. He also tried to kill Victoria.
Steam rises up from the sewer.
Just then, Nina came in and beat up David. The two of them then hurriedly escaped, getting into Curtis's car, which was already waiting. A month later, Victoria got married to Ryan.